She found out her own sister had been with her fiancé months before the wedding. She didn't scream, she didn't cry right then. She walked over to the garden her sister had built in memory of her dead dog and crushed the flowers. But that's only the first story. In the second one, a brother wired $20,000 to save his father from a terminal illness. His father used the money to send his 16-year-old sister to a religious conversion camp because she was gay, and he found out alone through Facebook days later.
My sister slept with my fiancé, and another family destroyed their own daughter for who she was. My sister and I are 1 year apart. Our whole lives, it was her and me. Small fights, quick fixes, the kind of relationship you assume will never break because it never has. I was about to get married, months away, months. She was my maid of honor. My dad called me one day. He couldn't hold it in. He told me everything. I listened, hung up, and stood completely still for a stretch of time I couldn't measure. My sister, my fiancé, both of them. I went to her house unannounced, rang the doorbell. She opened it smiling. I walked in, made small talk for a few minutes, let her get comfortable. Then I brought it up. She tried to explain, said it just happened, months before my wedding, with the man I was going to spend my life with. It just happened.
It just happened is what people say when they want to strip agency from a deliberate choice. Nothing that lasts long enough to have consequences just happens.
I walked out the back door and went to her garden. She had lost her dog not long before. Built that garden as a memorial. Flowers planted carefully, each one meaning something. I crushed a few. I won't pretend it was much. It was a couple of flowers. But it was enough for her to understand I knew exactly what she loved. She started screaming, crying, called me psychotic. I told her I didn't want her talking to me anymore, or our mother who had known for months and stayed quiet because my sister begged her to. I left. If you've ever had to break something small just to finally be heard, drop a comment. I got home and exposed them both online, posted everything. With names, with details. My sister started blowing up my phone in all caps. Then she tried to break my door down. When I opened it, she screamed that I was spreading her business on the internet and that she didn't deserve hate from strangers. Said she'd always been there for me, that she would have forgiven me if it were the other way around. I told her I hoped she'd be okay raising the baby she was carrying. She stopped, because I already knew. The call from my ex's mother had come before all of this. She was pregnant. He had told his family in an attempt to calm the situation down. My sister had no idea I already knew.
She held the pregnancy like it was a card she hadn't played yet. But when the other person already has that information, there's no card left, there's only exposure.
She walked off my porch for the last time with her face destroyed. My mother cut contact, saying if I wasn't going to respect the family, there was no point in trying to reach me. Perfect. My dad asked me to take the posts down. I pulled back from him too. What remained was the internet doing what the internet does, and me sleeping better than I had in weeks.
An engagement, a lifelong friendship, a mother who chose silence, a father who finally spoke, an unplanned pregnancy, an ex who doesn't want the baby but can't bring himself to leave, a sister who built a garden for a dead dog and lost even the flowers. They were blood. Now they're strangers.
Now I need to tell you about a brother who wired $20,000 to his father believing he was saving a life. He was, just not the life he thought. I had built something for myself. Left home early, worked as a software engineer, made decent money, saved even better. My parents were always terrible with money. I had refused loans before. I had clear limits. But my younger sister, 16 years old, gay, living under the same roof as parents who had turned radically religious over the past few years, she was my weak point. We talked every single day. She was the most decent person in that family. I protected her the best I could from a distance, always pushing her to wait until 18 before coming out, she promised. On her 16th birthday, she came out anyway. I was frustrated with her. I didn't yell, but I lectured her. I know now that was wrong. She went 4 days without calling me. For us, 4 days was an eternity. When we reconnected, things were bad. Her parents hadn't kicked her out, but they had gone completely silent on her inside the house. The kind of silence that hurts more than screaming. A week later, my father called, said he was sick, needed $20,000 for an emergency procedure, asked me not to tell my mom or my sister.
The secrecy was the trap. Honest requests don't require silence. When someone asks for money and also asks you to tell no one, you're not being trusted, you're being isolated.
I transferred the money. He had always been the most honest person I knew. The idea that he would lie about his own health felt impossible. I felt guilty for even considering it. A few days later, my sister stopped calling. I figured she was upset about something, but she didn't pick up at all. I called my parents. They said she was just in a mood. That night, I opened Facebook and read a delayed message from one of her friends. Men in a Van, a program. My sister taken from the house in front of her friend. I called my father. He denied it twice. On the third call, he admitted it. The money I gave to save his life had been used to pay for a religious conversion camp for my sister. I researched. These places are documented for abuse, psychological manipulation, and worse. I didn't even have the name of the camp. He refused to give it. Stay with me, because this gets heavier. I drove to their house, tried reason first, showed them research, survivor accounts, documented evidence of abuse in these programs. They called me a liar. I consulted 2 attorneys. Both said the same thing. Legally, I had nothing. The money was a gift. She was a minor. Her parents held custody. There was no legal path forward.
He exhausted every formal channel before acting. That wasn't impulsiveness, that was a man who tried to do things right until the system closed every single door.
I went back to their house with 1 card left. I offered my remaining savings $55,000 in exchange for her release. My father went into the room with my mother. 5 minutes, came back and said yes. No contract, no legal record, no formal agreement. I almost handed it over with nothing guaranteed. The attorney I called afterwards stopped me. So I changed strategy. I found the name of the camp through my mother's computer. She needed my help with it regularly. I searched online and found horror stories from former residents of that specific facility. I showed everything to my parents. Then I found a respected religious figure from their own community, someone they couldn't simply dismiss, and convinced them to go get her in person. We flew there together. The facility didn't want to let us in. It took hours before they allowed my sister to see us. They told us she would lie to us, that we should leave without speaking to her. That made my parents furious. When we finally saw her, she was composed enough to act like she had changed without me needing to say a single word to her. We brought her home.
She walked out performing a conversion she never went through at 16, inside an abusive institution, still sharp enough to beat them at their own game.
My parents came back home acting like they had been deceived by the facility, like they were equal victims, like they hadn't stolen my money and sent their own daughter to a place like that. My sister and I talked privately. She'll stay quiet until 18, then she's moving in with me. 2 years. We have to hold on for 2 years. Days later, I ended up in the hospital. What I thought was stress-induced flu turned out to be bacterial meningitis. I wrote the final update from a hospital bed with my brain literally inflamed, but she was home, safe.
$20,000. 2 attorneys. A cross-country flight. Bacterial meningitis. My parents will never admit what they actually did. They'll carry their version of the story, the deceived ones, the victims forever. I'm already done with them. When she turns 18, she will be too. Sometimes the damage doesn't show up in your bank account or your body. It shows up in the way you look at the people who are supposed to protect you and can't find what used to be there.